Hello, my name is Manjot Singh Basin. I am a director at Star Educare. We are an ab initio flight training consultancy located at Ramphal Chowk, Sector 7, Dwarka. We have been organizing and coordinating flight trainings for our candidates and clients for almost 15 years. We have dealt with a number of candidates and most of the candidates of ours are currently working with various airlines, various aviation companies or organizations in India and abroad. We have decided to come up with a series of videos to give the idea, to give the do's and don'ts of the trainings and the patterns and the modules, and what has to be done to get a CPL license. In this past 15 years of experience, we have come across and we have realized that the lack of knowledge and lack of awareness among the candidates and the families usually ends up losing a lot of money and losing a lot of precious time. So we've already spoken about what are the do's and don'ts and what has to be taken care and what has to be considered when you want to get your CPL. Those are the videos we've done in the past. Today, the topic I would like to speak upon is what to do once your training is finished and you have a license in your hand now. So by license, I would consider and assume that we are talking about the DGCA license. So let's say you have done with your trainings, whether you did it in India or whether abroad, but now eventually you have a DGCA issued CPL with instrument and multi-engine, and you are now perfectly ready to start applying for a job. Well, every candidate starts a training with a lot of excitement of getting into a cockpit, flying, and flying an aircraft is always a very exciting factor. And by the time you finish the training and now you have spent a lot of money and spent a lot of time and you have license, now the anxiety starts. Ki ab kya? What to do next? I am sure a lot of you and almost everyone I know and everyone I have come across in my career, they dream to join an airline. Their dream job is to get into an airline and fly as a first officer and eventually a commander with the airline. And that's a beautiful thought. Airlines, that is where the glamour is. Actually, the aviation glamour comes from the airline. And flying with the airline is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful career. Airlines are also the largest employers. They hire the maximum number of pilots because they operate large fleet, and there are many airlines around in India and abroad. So they tend to become the largest employers, and they actually hire most of the fresh candidates that come out of the flight schools. And I say most of the candidates, a few of candidates cannot. So if you get into airline, that's a beautiful thing. Best of luck for the journey ahead. Just put focus and put your mind to it. There's still a lot of trainings and a lot of learnings to be done before you can become a competent and a complete pilot. And but the candidates who are not able to get into airline, well, try again. Maybe 1, 2, 3 airlines, keep on trying, but you have to put a timeline to it. You cannot go endlessly. You can't make it as an ego problem or the only goal in your life that you have to get into the airline. See, airlines are big corporates and they have their own selection process. It's a long and it's a multi-leveled selection process. If you have not been able to get into it, there is a reason the airlines are not hiring you. Maybe the competition was better at that time, and there can be multiple reasons. So don't get too hard on yourself, and don't get fixated or get into the airline. There are other options also. So if you've made up a couple of attempts, tried a few times, but still have been unlucky or have not been able to get in, so I would suggest start looking for other options. There are other options. The idea after doing a CPL is, don't sit idle. Don't wait for that ideal job to come to you, keep coming to you. Maybe you're waiting, someone will knock on your door and, hey sir, please come and fly with us. Don't wait for for that opportunity or for that instant. Need to go out. So if airline is out of reach now, so there are plenty of other options. You can join a chartered company. especially COVID time. A lot of chartered operations, the chartered operations in COVID times have really increased in many times. So if the second option you can look for after the airline is start looking for and approaching a chartered company. Chartered companies are smaller companies, and again there is lesser glamour in that. They are smaller aircraft. The pay packages are not as comparing to the airlines, but still, again, remember the point is, the goal is, do not sit idle. You need to keep on growing your profile, enhancing your profile. If you sit there, you'll always remain just a CPL holder with 200 or 250 hours with no commercial aircraft experience. So join an airline. Next option that you can consider is corporate companies. A lot of corporates, a lot of companies in India have their own aircraft. They operate their own aircraft. Companies like Tata's or Reliance or private sector companies like ONGC, they have their own aircraft, and obviously when they have the aircraft, they need pilots to fly the aircraft. So you can start approaching the corporate segment also. Air ambulances, again, part of the chartered company. A lot of, and especially in COVID, we've been hearing this and reading in the news a lot of time. Air ambulances were used extensively to evacuate or transfer patients from one city to other city. Again, they come generally under the chartered companies, but again, it's a good option if you are not able to get your dream job in an airline. If you hold a technical degree, you have a BSc or a BTech or a B degree, and you've been issued the DGCA license, you can also apply for armed forces. Coast Guard, Indian Navy, Indian Armed Forces will consider you. They come up with these openings almost once a year. If you clear their medical standards and the other requirements, definitely you can join them. It's a short commissioned 8 years tenure, but again, it is much better than sitting idle at home for maybe a year or 2 or 3 or endlessly just to hoping getting to what you actually have in mind. Another option that you can go for is you can become a flight instructor. There's always a huge demand of flight instructors in India and outside India. And if you're not getting into a job that you like, but you need to get to do something, don't sit at home idle. You need to get doing something, start preparing for the ATPL exams. I know there is a limitation on the time period of the ATPL exams, 2.5 years, but still keep in touch with your base, keep in touch with your flying, because if you lose that connection, every time you appear for an interview, you will not fare very well. See, the idea is to keep on enhancing the profile. Obviously, like any other industry, a fresher has to struggle. Be it engineering, be it a lawyer, be it a CA, be it a doctor, any field of profession that you pick up, a freshly trained, a fresh graduate right after the college or right after the training institute, there is a level of struggle. And why not in becoming a pilot? See, you cannot say that because I spent a huge amount of money, the job is your right. Well, every pilot has done that. A room full of pilots, a room full of CPL holders, everyone has spent that amount of 40, 45, 50 lakh rupees. So there is no, you're not going to get any incentives on that. So you have to struggle like everyone else. So don't sit idle. The idea, as I was saying, is to keep on growing on your profile. So how to do that? So you enhance the profile by flying. So you cannot put money on your own. Obviously, that the entire project becomes meaningless. It is no more financially viable. If you say, I will pay for another 1,000 hours or 1,500 hours and get a ATPL, that is not possible. So start looking for a job. I always suggest my candidates, the first decent job that you get, grab hold of it. That will help you grow up. That will help you build hours on a commercial aircraft. If your dream is to join an airline, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line, eventually when you have a ATPL, when you have a couple of thousand hours in your logbook, the airlines will be easier. It will be easier for you to approach the airlines and get a job. So after CPL, don't let the anxiety get into you. On to you. Plan well. The moment you finish up your CPL, the moment you have your licenses in hands, start looking for jobs that come across you. Obviously, airlines, as I said, are the first goal. Go for it. Definitely, airlines hire fresh pilots right out of flight school. They need it, they want it. Again, they are choosy. If you're not able to get it, look for the next best option that is available in the market, be it chartered, corporate, state governments. A lot of state governments hire pilots because almost every state in India has their own set of aircraft which the leadership and the government fly with. Cargo companies. A lot of cargo companies operating in India, they hire pilots. See, there is an aircraft, you need a pilot. So start looking for the next job available and just keep on with it, work on it, build your hours, build a profile. Eventually your dream job will come to you. It will come to you one day. We've trained over 1,500 pilots in the past 15 odd years, and I can surely say I can very confident. I have my candidates working in airline. Obviously, most of the candidates, I would say the majority part of the candidates that we have trained are working with airlines, not in India only, but outside India. You name an airline in India, yes, we have candidates over there. My candidates are working in Gulf, in Europe, in US, in Latin America, in Africa. Yes, they're spread across. We have candidates who are working with Coast Guard, Indian Coast Guard. Yes, I have a candidate who's working with Indian Coast Guard. In the beginning, he was a little reluctant, but he's been there and he's stuck with it. He doesn't want to come out of it. I have a candidate who's working with the Indian Navy, Indian Armed Forces. There are a number of them. Candidates working with various chartered and corporates, and have a couple of candidates who are working with the cargo company, DHL, Indian Post. So keep your mind open. Don't get fixated to one single point. If you have an open view of this field and this career, you will never have a problem after the CPL. Go for it. Plan well. Have a backup for everything. Well, that is what you train for. You're pilots, you know. That's what they do, the training. Be ahead of the aircraft by a couple of minutes. So be ahead in your career point by a couple of steps, so you know if the first option is not working, you have the second thing ready for you. Don't sit at home. Do something. Airline or a flight instructor, doesn't matter. Just keep on moving, build up those hours. Yes, it's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful career. If you like to have a talk with me or have more discussions or suggestions or have any issues, you can call us. You will find the contact details on our page. And yes, definitely we'll be able to help you out. Thanks. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.